Change in the Air is a new film releasing October 19th that you won't want to miss. A peaceful community is forever changed when a mysterious young woman moves in. As the quirky locals embrace her, their lives soon improve, but they can't help notice that their strange new neighbor has a secret. Change in the Air will release in select theaters and on digital on October 19th. Go to changeintheairmovie.com to see if the film is playing near you, or purchase or rent it the day it comes out. Change in the Air, in theaters and on digital, October 19th.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Moms Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions, from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at mediaangels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey everyone, welcome. This is Felice Gerwitz with an episode of Vintage Homeschool Moms. This is episode 304, and today we're going to talk about stress busters relating to field trips. This is field trip tips, and you can find the show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And you're going to want to grab those show notes because I have about 6 printables for you, actually 7, I think. And I'm going to go through those in just a little bit. I have planning guides that I've used through the years, and as I was looking through them to share them with all of you, I actually tweaked them a little bit. Always can improve on things, right? Well, we've all been on field trips before that were disasters, and taking kids who are excited, no matter what the age on a trip, can be an unforgettable activity, unfortunately, not in a good way. Now, add stress of planning, packing lunch, and all the things that go with it, and well, it's a fiasco waiting to happen. In this episode, we are going to tackle the tried and true methods that I've used through the years to make stress-filled field trips stress-free. And it's going to be fun. I want to thank our sponsor, changeintheairmovie.com. You can find preview clips there. It has a one-day release, and that is on October 19th. But the great news is, if you've missed that release date, it is available on digital. And I got to see a preview of the movie and really enjoyed it. So, field trips. What are we going to do about it? It is a great diversion, moms, especially for the times when you want to enhance your curriculum. And as a kid, I loved field trips. They were the highlights of the school year, and they were for my kids as well. As with anything, it takes some planning, but with a little help, you can incorporate field trips into your homeschool curriculum. One of the keys to a successful field trip is to know what you are getting out of the effort. And I think we stress when we feel like, we've packed up the kids, we drove to our destination, we unpacked the kids and all our stuff, we trudged around, or we paid money to trudge around and got nothing out of the effort. So I always prepared with some questions and some things that I wanted the kids to look for, as well as researched where we were going so I knew how to prep the kids. A good field trip is, and this is for the kids, number 1, they know where they're going. Number 2, they know what's expected. Is it a long nature walk? Is it a museum visit? Or are we going to the fire station? Number 3, they have a camera or access to one or something to write and draw with. And number 4, know that they have to be on their best behavior. We have actually left a field trip when the kids were acting up, and that only happened once. And I know it's hard, parents, especially if you paid money, but I would start with something small, especially with the little ones, and let them know you will leave and follow through, and I guarantee your kids will be good next time around. Now, this is a good field trip for moms and dads. A, everyone visits the bathroom before you leave home. B, pack snacks or lunch. C, have a camera or cell phone for pictures and make sure it's charged. D, have a way to record by writing, taking pictures of signs or plaques, and gathering information, like if they let you take home pamphlets or brochures, which the children love, and you can, bring a backpack for that. And lastly, go over field trip etiquette with the kids. Remember, no running, wait for or ask permission to walk with friends, listen if someone is a guide or explaining, and no talking unless necessary. So where do you begin? You begin by planning the field trip, and it doesn't have to be in marathon. In other words, more isn't always better. If you have a local support group in town, that is the best way to go to field trips. If you want to do some of your own, you can offer to lead a group or at least set it up. And with these forms I'm going to be giving you, it is going to be super easy. Look for a local's event planner. You can find them online. You used to be able to find these things in the newspaper and see what's happening in your town. There are websites that are specific to each town. I have supplied the field trip forms that I used myself, and again, they'll be available on the website on episode 304. Visit vintagehomeschoolmoms.com and look for field trip tips. So these forms are stress busters. I use the list to plan for field trips as well as follow-ups afterwards, and I believe you can, change this around. So I'm going to go through an overview, and then I'm going to go through some of what's on the forms. So the first is, where are you going? What are you studying? That should give you a good idea of where to begin. When we were doing some of the ancient history and Greek and Roman period, we went to a local, which only happens in our area in January, February, and so we went to a medieval fair. So you have to know what's happening in your in your state that you can drive to. This is about an hour and a half, 2 hours from where we live. And then they brought one actually locally to us years later. It wasn't as vast as the first one was, but it was good enough for us. So, you can look at that. There's a strawberry festival in Florida. We have, all kinds of different, we have a swamp cabbage festival in the summer, if you like that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things that are kind of indigenous to your state. So look around and see what those things are. So, for example, if you're studying astronomy, the nature centers usually have a planetarium and stargazing night program. Are you studying anatomy? A field trip to a local hospital or doctor's office could be arranged. I remember going to the dentist or even the kids getting a physical, and I made that into a field trip. You may also wish, to set up some things ahead of time. Make sure your doctor knows that your kids may be asking some extra questions. Usually, doctors learn which kids are homeschooled, and the ones that are really good doctors will, take their questions happily. If your children are, having a routine teeth cleaning, this can turn into a field trip by reading some literature about dental hygiene, good health, and that kind of thing. Same thing with the vet's care and pet care. You can be studying animals. How about field trips on a budget? So we look for things that are free, right, or have a nominal fee. My daughter recently went to the Ringling Museum, which has some wonderful art and, it has a history of the Ringling Brothers and the circus, but it has a lot more than that, a lot of miniatures and things like that. And the kids absolutely loved it. So when they went, she said, she wanted to go back and take her husband the next time, and she was floored at how much the tickets were because their group fees were very nominal. So the group rate's the way to go, and usually a gathering of 10 or more kids makes it a field trip. If you have a support group, again, that helps, and someone can be in charge of setting that up. I always made sure I was part of the planning committee because there was nothing worse than having 5 or 6 field trips planned during the year, and none of them tied into anything that we were interested in. So seriously, many times all it takes is a few calls to gather a few of your friends together, and you'll have enough people for a field trip. does it have to tie into your curriculum as far as field trips? We try to plan our field trips to coincide with topics we're studying. Of course, that's not always possible. So use field trips as a bonus or to review something you've already learned, maybe to introduce a new topic in the future. For example, there was a local group that sponsored missionaries and taught them how to plan to grow food in a foreign country. We didn't go on the last 2 field trips to this facility, and it's called Echo, and it's they have sustainable seeds and things like that. But plan on going the next time it's offered or going ourselves as volunteers. As we are currently planting a garden, that was a time that we learned all about, botany and plants and what would grow and fertilizer and what to do about pest control. Again, it wasn't a topic of interest until we started doing it, and that really came from going on that field trip. Be creative, take lots of pictures, and have the kids draw in a notebook. Now, I know some of you are perfectionist kids, and I can see one of my grandkids in my mind as I share this with you are not going to be able to do that because that would take their entire time. So that's why I say, cameras are best if you can, get a disposable camera. Now they even have like the little disposable digital cameras that you can use. So those are great. All right. I'm going to go through some of this. I'm not going to do a lot of going through it because you can get these on the website again, episode 304. So pre-planning the trip, the first thing you want to do is know the location, phone number, list of goals and objectives. Check on dates that are available, costs, and so forth. This is kind of your scribble sheet that you're going to be just pre-planning. Are these field trips worth going to, and do I need to, look into it more? And then when you narrow it down, that's where you're going to go to the next sheet, and that is the planning list. So again, you're going to decide exactly where you're going. You're going to determine some questions you want the children to answer beforehand. If you're not sure, go online. Let's say you're going to the police station, then just, online you can find so much, whereas we had to just think of all these things, in my homeschooling days. Again, you're going to put your schedule here and you're going to create a folder. You can do it on your computer, however you want to do that. And then you go on the field trips, find the answers to the questions, and so forth. I'm actually creating an extensive field trip planning guide that is going to be available in a digital format on PDF that will allow you to fill it in, and that is going to be in the November planner next year. Next month, I'm giving it away on the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. And so what if you have missed that? It will be available on my membership site. So if you go to Media Angels membership, that will be available in the first tier, but not till after November of 2018. So if it's after November of 2018, yes, it will be there. So you can get that first tier membership, which is, I think it's less than $10. It's very inexpensive, or less than $20. It's not it's inexpensive, but you get a ton of books for that. And we consistently will be adding new product to those pages. And then you'll be able to put this in a digital format and, do it on your computer. Then the day of, just the bare bones, and then you can also be reminded, which I love, is to send a thank you note. I am not the best card giver or thank you note giver, but just a little aside on my we did that with field trips, and people were so appreciative. They'd actually write us back and thank us for the thank you note because no one ever thanked them before. And obviously what that does is put your group in a good light. Again, that aside was that I send thank you notes for my husband's home inspection business to the realtors or, a friend or whoever recommended my husband for the job. And they're the same thing. I had a realtor who sent me a card back and said, in the 30 years I've been showing houses, no one has ever thanked me, and I really appreciated the note. And just a little $5, $10 gift card. So thank yous go a long way. What about student field trip guide? Okay, so I have several, and I did some for the little ones. Little ones like to draw pictures. They can't write a ton at this point. And I'm talking more about the preschoolers, kindergarten maybe. So the student field trip list is going to have the stuff that they're going to know ahead of time. So where are they going? What are they expected to learn? And that's where you can maybe put questions on a marker board and have the kids write them down. They're not going to have the answers because they have to go on the field trip to find it. So it kind of makes it a little bit like a scavenger hunt. And then they're going to pay attention. Why? Because they have a purpose and they want to find the answers. Does this relate to any subject you're currently studying? They can put yes or no, and if so, what subject is it? And then I say do research. So use the library, in the old days, the encyclopedias that we had, or internet search, and then make a list of things to look for. And the kids can do that and make a list of questions you might have. They might, may make them think of some questions of their own, and then make a list of rules. So what did mom and dad talk about that we need to do? Make a list of items you want to take, and I had these really lightweight, those backpacks that are the string backpacks. You can get a lot of them free for promotions. They are wonderful. They're lightweight, and the kids can just pack them specifically for these kinds of things and then send a thank you note. The kids can also write a thank you note afterwards. And then I have another form that is a field trip guide with student memories, and the kids can write down where they went, what they enjoyed, what surprised them, what did they want to know more about, and if they would recommend this place to others, why or why not. So friends, there you have it. There are some different things that you can do, and having these forms definitely does help. Don't take all the enjoyment out of every trip by requiring a full-length article or term paper, unless your kids love that sort of thing. And I am speaking from experience because, yes, I did this. And my kids told me I could turn anything into school and it didn't make it fun, which I always said, not all learning has to be fun, but we want it enjoyable for the kids to have memories, because that's what we're doing, moms and dads. We are building memories. And what better way than spending time with your children? Well, friends, I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, a shout out for the movie ChangeInTheAirMovie.com. Thank you to all our sponsors. We have been having a wonderful month at the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network with our 5th year birthday bash, and we have had some amazing giveaways from our sponsors. So check that out on the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network on the giveaways page. Take care, everyone. God bless. Talk to you soon. Drop me an email and like us on iTunes, Google Play, or any of your favorite podcast apps. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.